The world of fashion has always thrived on spectacle, on faces that come and go, on trends that flicker before fading into memory. But every few decades, someone appears who doesn't follow the rhythm of the industry. Someone who makes the world stop, not through noise, but through silence. In 2025, that person is Jungkook. Even as the global fashion elite gathered under the neon glow of New York Fashion Week, it wasn't the runway models or celebrity front row guests who stole the conversation. It was a name that hadn't even walked the event. Jungkook of BTS. Absent, serving, quiet, yet more present than anyone else. Calvin Klein's marketing department didn't need to launch a new campaign or produce another high-budget film. Jungkook's influence was already breathing life into their brand like an invisible current. He became the unspoken headline of every discussion, the energy behind every viral clip, the memory that refused to fade. Fans from Seoul to Sao Paulo flooded social media with edits, clips, and throwbacks of his Calvin Klein era, not because of nostalgia, but because of an emotion that never died down. Every photograph of him, every black and white frame, felt alive, as if Jungkook's image had captured something timeless. The clean lines, the quiet intensity in his gaze, the simplicity of denim against bare skin, it all became part of a visual language that people never stopped speaking. Calvin Klein didn't have to remind the world of his ambassadorship. The world simply refused to forget it. There was something poetic about it, a global superstar serving in silence, yet commanding an empire of attention without lifting a finger. The data told one story: $30 million in media impact value generated without a single promotional move. But the truth behind those numbers was more profound. Jungkook had turned stillness into strategy, absence into allure. While other celebrities fight algorithms and sponsorship deals, Jungkook has proven that real influence isn't manufactured, it's felt. He doesn't sell clothes. He makes people believe in what he represents. And the corridors of Calvin Klein's Manhattan headquarters, executives still talk about the Jungkook anomaly. They speak of him not as a model, but as a phenomenon that defied every conventional metric. Normally, when an ambassador goes inactive, engagement declines. But with Jungkook, the opposite happened. His older campaigns became immortalized content, eternally recirculated by millions of fans who see his image not just as fashion, but as a feeling, freedom, rebellion, confidence, desire. Every time his name trended online, the brand's visibility surged again, creating waves that no traditional marketing team could replicate. It was as if Jungkook had rewritten the DNA of celebrity branding, proving that authenticity, even in silence, holds more power than any ad agency's plan. And while his Calvin Klein photos continued to make headlines months after release, Jungkook himself remained hidden from public life, immersed in his military service. Yet that distance didn't feel like separation. It felt like anticipation, a heartbeat that refused to fade. The world wasn't waiting for him to return. It was living in his absence, feeding off the echoes he had already left behind. His ranking at number 4 among the most handsome faces of K-pop in 2025 wasn't just recognition of beauty. It was a reminder that his presence had transcended the physical. He had become a symbol, a standard against which new generations were unconsciously measured. As the rookie group AHF made waves with their debut and new idols began to rise, fans noticed something intriguing. No one, no matter how talented or promising, could replicate Jungkook's brand of quiet power. His era wasn't over. It had simply evolved. The Calvin Klein era, which began in 2023, has now become legend, retold in countless fan posts and digital archives as a turning point not just for him, but for global fashion itself. For decades, Calvin Klein had been synonymous with cool minimalism, with icons like Kate Moss and Mark Wahlberg defining its legacy. Then Jungkook arrived, and the brand didn't just gain an ambassador, it gained a cultural bridge, a vessel through which East met West with effortless elegance. There's a certain irony in how history remembers people who never tried too hard. Jungkook doesn't post, yet every photo he's in becomes viral. He doesn't attend fashion weeks, yet dominates their conversations. He doesn't speak publicly about style, yet every stylist in Seoul, Paris, and New York references him. His power lies not in self-promotion but in self-control, in the mystery that surrounds someone who doesn't need to explain themselves. In a generation addicted to oversharing, Jungkook's silence is the loudest sound in the room. When marketing researchers call this the Jungkook economy, they're not exaggerating. His name alone generates billions in brand associations. His effect on Calvin Klein is measurable, but the emotions he stirs are not. Every campaign featuring him still trends worldwide years later. Every photo drop reignites the same frenzy it caused the first time. He has become a self-sustaining ecosystem of influence, a digital gravity that keeps pulling the world back toward him. And perhaps that's why Calvin Klein doesn't even attempt to replace him. How do you replace something that has become eternal? As 2025 moves toward its end and BTS's full return grows nearer, Jungkook's name continues to dominate discussions that have nothing to do with music charts or stage performances. Industry insiders whisper about what Calvin Klein plans to do next, whether they'll unveil a reunion collection when Jungkook finishes his service, or whether the brand will choose to keep the mystery alive, letting his old campaigns breathe forever like rare art pieces. Whatever they decide, the truth remains unshakable. Jungkook's partnership has already transcended business. It has entered history. Some say the $30.4 million he generated without lifting a finger is the most extraordinary marketing story of the decade. Others say it's the beginning of a new era, one where silence becomes the ultimate luxury and authenticity becomes the new currency. But for fans, it's simpler than that. They don't see Jungkook as a campaign or a brand strategy. They see him as a feeling, the calm before a storm, the beauty of something unspoken. They know that when he finally steps back into the world stage, every camera, every headline, every heart will follow. Because no one else, in this generation or the next, moves the world by doing absolutely nothing the way Jungkook does. The phenomenon known as the Jungkook effect has become one of the most studied subjects in both entertainment and fashion marketing. Industry analysts, brand strategists, and even sociologists have begun dissecting how a single individual can transcend the rules of modern influence, bending them into something almost mythological. They call it silent power. They call it emotional magnetism. But to those who have followed Jungkook since his debut, it feels more like destiny. When the numbers from Calvin Klein's 2025 campaign impact report were leaked, many refused to believe them. $30.4 million in media impact value, achieved while the ambassador himself was on military duty, without attending a single event, without posting even a photo. Yet the digital footprint was undeniable. Mentions of Calvin Klein surged by over 800% during New York Fashion Week, not because of a new product, but because of Jungkook's archived imagery resurfacing on social media timelines. Every fashion influencer, every K-pop page, every major outlet reused his photos, his videos, his campaigns. The irony was that the man responsible for this massive global wave was nowhere to be found. That absence became his greatest marketing weapon. In a world addicted to immediacy, Jungkook mastered the art of withholding. He gave nothing, no selfies, no live streams, no brand teasers, and in that void, curiosity grew like wildfire. People began searching, reposting, and reminiscing. They didn't realize it, but they were doing Calvin Klein's job for them, reviving the campaign without the company lifting a finger. That's the paradox of modern fame. While most chase relevance through overexposure, Jungkook sustains it through mystery. The fans' army became the oxygen that fueled the campaign long after it ended. They posted collages, edits, emotional captions remembering the Jungkook era, and each post became an unpaid advertisement. They weren't promoting a brand. They were expressing love, nostalgia, and longing. Yet every emotional reaction was also a data point, every viral post another spark that reignited the Calvin Klein flame. And the brand, fully aware of this, didn't interfere. They stayed silent too. Because silence, when used by Jungkook, isn't absence. It's atmosphere. Fashion journalists began using new terms to describe the phenomenon. Organic virality, emotional marketing, celebrity aura theory. But none of these academic words captured the true reason people couldn't stop looking. It wasn't about clothes or contracts. It was about energy. When Jungkook appeared in front of the camera, he didn't just model. He transformed the act into something sacred, a moment of stillness that carried emotion, confidence, and vulnerability all at once. The images spoke without shouting, and that was what people responded to. Meanwhile, inside the Korean entertainment industry, whispers grew louder about Jungkook's impact even during his service. One producer reportedly said, "He's not even here, but his name still drives the culture. Every new idol looks up to him. Every stylist references him. Every company wishes they could bottle what he has." That intangible magnetism made him both unreachable and irreplaceable. Even as rookies like AH rose with impressive sales and visuals, none could capture the weight of Jungkook's presence, that quiet domination that lingers even in silence. International luxury brands started to take notes. Meetings at Dior, Prada, and Saint Laurent began to include references to Jungkook's dormant engagement model. The theory suggested that when an artist reaches a level of emotional trust with their audience, they no longer need constant visibility. Their audience sustains the relationship on its own, driven by the memory of authenticity. Jungkook had achieved what marketing experts call the afterglow effect, the ability to influence even in absence. Yet, beyond the numbers and theories, there is something more human at the core of all this. Jungkook represents a generation of artists who refuse to be consumed by their fame. He doesn't chase attention, he allows it to find him. When he stepped into Calvin Klein's world in 2023, he didn't merely endorse a product, he redefined what it meant to embody it. The campaign wasn't sexy because it was provocative. It was powerful because it was honest. He didn't play a role, he simply existed as himself, raw and unapologetic. That sincerity, that visible truth, became the emotional currency that keeps paying dividends to this day. In Seoul's Garosagil district, fashion store owners report that young people still come in asking for the Jungkook fit, jeans that hug the frame just right, white tees with effortless drape, denim jackets with that exact worn-in tone he wore in the photos. Even without current ads, his style remains the template. In online forums, stylists trade notes on how to recreate his energy. "It's not about perfection," one stylist wrote. "It's about comfort that still feels alive." Jungkook makes ordinary things look extraordinary. The emotional attachment runs deeper than mere admiration. For ARMY, seeing Jungkook in Calvin Klein represents a personal victory. It's the culmination of years of watching him evolve, from the shy teenager who barely spoke to the global icon who can dominate an entire industry with a single photo. They see their own growth reflected in his. Every campaign is more than an ad. It's a chapter in a collective journey. That's why even now, during his military service, fans continue to honor his work as if it were still new. Because in their eyes, Jungkook never fades. There's also an undeniable poetic balance in this story. As the world celebrates his beauty, ranking him among the most handsome faces in K-pop, the same world is reminded that beauty alone doesn't sustain power. Jungkook's appeal isn't skin deep. It's emotional, intellectual, even spiritual. He has built an empire on restraint, patience, and authenticity, qualities that no filter or brand deal can fake. When you look at him in a Calvin Klein frame, you're not seeing a model. You're seeing a man who understands his worth without needing to prove it. Inside Calvin Klein's headquarters, executives have quietly acknowledged that Jungkook's campaign marked a before and after moment in their history. Sales in Asia surged not just because of the exposure, but because of the emotional connection he created. They realized they weren't just selling clothes, they were selling confidence. They were selling the idea of being unapologetically yourself, something Jungkook embodies effortlessly. That's why, even years later, the brand continues to reuse his imagery. Because it hasn't aged. Because it still works. Because Jungkook, somehow, made timelessness look easy. As the months pass and BTS's full return draws closer, the anticipation is almost unbearable. The idea of Jungkook stepping back into the public eye feels like waiting for an eclipse, rare, inevitable, and worth every second of patience. Fans whisper about what his next move will be. Will Calvin Klein welcome him back with a global campaign bigger than before? Or will he choose something new, something unexpected, something even quieter yet more powerful? Whatever happens, the world knows one truth now. Jungkook doesn't follow trends, he defines them. He doesn't chase attention, he commands it. He doesn't sell dreams, he becomes them. And the fact that he generated $30.4 million without lifting a finger is not a coincidence. It's proof that when authenticity meets mystery, the result is unstoppable. Some call him a genius of silence. Others, the face of a new era in celebrity culture. But maybe the simplest truth is this: Jungkook has become the purest form of influence, the kind that doesn't demand to be seen, yet can never be forgotten.